Welcome to The Well, where we get together and talk about life, death, and everything in between. My name is Pastor Carrie, and my favorite holiday-only product available only during a holiday, is the Iowa Pine-Scented Soap and Candle by Mrs. Myers.
Hi, I'm Pastor Tim, and my favorite Advent activity is waiting.
My name is Jay, and my favorite form of a Reese's peanut butter cup is the Christmas tree.
So there were, in history, there were scribes that used to copy the Bible, and there was a group of monks copying a Bible, and there was a young monk there, and he calls over the Monsignor and says, Father, this word doesn't look right here. Something's wrong. Father goes, I'll go down in the catacombs. So he's down in the catacombs, and he's gone for a very long time. And so they start getting worried, so they go down there, and the father is weeping bitterly on the floor, just weeping bitterly. This old man and all the other brothers come up to say, Father, what's wrong? And he goes, it says celebrate.
Good one. It's a good one.
And there's someone to save us again, right? Okay,
yes,
good.
I think so. All right. Mel's awesome. Tangled up a little bit here, but here he is on his way. Hey, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Nice to see you, buddy. What do you think about that joke? No,
yeah,
I don't know.
I bet he's probably heard Pastor Tim's jokes before.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, and they're all pretty bad. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, this is Mel, and he lives at the bottom of the well that we gather, where we gather, and he has lived there for quite a long time, listening to the things that people talk about up at the top of the well as they meet and pass and have conversation. He collects the topics of those conversations just in case anybody wants to stop by and have a good talk. Right, Mel? So he's going to give us a couple today to see what we can do with them. All right, Mel? Ready? Okay, he's headed to the bottom of the well. All right, he's looking. Here he's got one, looks like. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Mel.
Thanks, Mel. All right. How do you come to a belief in one religion over another? Is it environment, experience, research, or divine intervention? Read it one more time.
Sure, let's go one more time.
How do you come to a belief in one religion over another? Is it environment, experience, research, or divine intervention?
All right. I think I'm going to, this is a interesting question. I think I'm going to sort of lean a little bit into my, the analogy that I use for religion, which is the stool with three legs. One of them's belief, one is behavior, and one is belonging. So I don't know that a belief in one religion is a thing. If we have a belief is part of it, but it's only part of it. Behavior and belonging is also a huge part of who we are in our sort of spiritual or religious identity. So I don't know that it's really about coming to different beliefs as defining your path or where you are on that path. So I think it's absolutely a mixture of all of these things, right? Environment, experience, research, divine intervention, talking to people, relationships that you have, experiences that you have. So I think it's these things and so much more that all come together to form maybe your own sort of feeling and identity about your spirituality and religious beliefs.
Yeah, I strongly agree with all of that. I also, to me, there's a few other things. Well, you kind of did too. I went through a period of time where I experienced other religions, and I like the saying that I heard years ago from one of my professors is that God reveals God's self in all religions, but I understand it that God reveals God's self most personally in the person of Jesus Christ. That's the understanding I came to, and the reason why I get so focused on grace is because what stood out for me in most other religions I looked at was salvation or whatever you would call the end goal, whatever religion that would be, always had something to do with the person being or doing or reaching a certain level. My understanding of Christianity, that our salvation of that is grace. It's not what we do. It's a gift from God. Our being freed in the cross is a gift from God. It doesn't matter what I do, that God shows that love to me. And that's why I get kind of upset when Christians start throwing all the law on that and saying you have to behave a certain way, because it's taken away that gift that we have. But yeah, I love your three-legged stool understanding. So yeah, but I think that God is there in all of them.
Yeah. So at risk of tearing apart the question, I don't have a belief in a religion. I have a belief in Jesus Christ.
Good call.
And a belief in the understanding of your three-legged stool. Has really helped me since you shared that with me. Over a year ago now. And so for me, it's not just about believing in Christ, but what does knowing these things, learning these things, reading these things about Christ cause in my behavior, in my action, and so on and so forth, right? And so yes, there is a sense of belief in that, but I think may I play with the stool idea for a second?
Please, okay. Yeah.
I think that for me, in a stool, they're independent. For me, I think of the cross members that hold the stool, hold those legs together on the bottom of the stool, and how that connects them, and there can be movement, like almost avenues of movement in between the two. And so when I read the last part of the question, think of the last part, like, is it environment, experience, research, divine intervention? For me, I think it goes back to the stool of yes, that how I behave in some cases is going to affect how I believe, because behavior is going to lead me to learning something, and then adjust or remember what I believe. What I believe may cause me to take action and behave in a certain way. I'm sorry, what was the other leg? I'm losing it. Belonging, right? Clearly one maybe I should spend more time with. But also, if we're just acting, then sometimes we need to just be, and to be in that moment, and to know that we belong, may be caused by something we believe, but also can be where we explore what we believe. So I just think it's, I tend to have maybe not more. I'm not saying anything's more or less than each other, but I tend to have maybe a fluid view of that, and the stool has really helped me with that, the three-legged stool idea. So yeah, but not to rip on the question, but I would say again, the belief or the belief, belonging, and behavior, I would say is in Christ, in God the Trinity, right? And in the whole of who God is, but not in the religion itself, because religion is human, and humans are gonna fail each other. I'm gonna fail you, you're gonna fail me, even if we have mutual care, support, and love, right? And God is divine. So
I think one of the best things you can say to a community is, I'm going to disappoint you, you're going to disappoint me. Now that we're through that, let's go on. But I like your cross with the legs, because the belonging and the belief and the behavior, they all belong. I mean, they all go together, because the community, I mean, if I have the behavior and the belief, that's fine. But the community is necessary to help me grow in that behavior and belief, and that. So yeah. I just like that image of them all connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for giving us that, gifting us that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't my idea. I wish it was, but I don't know who it was, because I've heard it on a YouTube video one time when I was searching a religion thing, and I can't find it anymore. So thank you very much, whoever that was who made that video.
To whoever you are.
Thank you. It helped me a lot too. So, all right, Mel, shall we give her another try here? Okay, cool. That was a good one though. All right. Oh, it looks like here we go. And shake it off. Oh, perfect.
Oh, this one's kind of thick.
All right, let's see what we've God. Sometimes they can be deceiving, like it's a big piece of paper, but a little question.
Oh no!
It's a tiny question.
The littlest
This is
question
and it's
ever.
gonna trip us up too, isn't
This is
it?
going to be awful.
Well, that's a good one.
Oh boy,
Is prosperity a sign of God's blessing?
no. Sorry.
Sorry about that. There we go.
No. It's a false idol. Whenever Jesus came upon someone who was wealthy, their experience with Jesus was either, like I think of Zacchaeus, was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he, and he climbed up that sycamore tree. That's Zacchaeus. What does he do when he encounters Jesus? When Jesus welcomes him or welcomes himself into Zacchaeus' life? Well, I'm going to give all I have, half I have to the poor, and pay back anybody 4 times, twice what I should, anybody I've cheated. And then we have the rich young ruler who leaves because he has so much, and Jesus says, how hard is it for a rich person to get into heaven? It's the same as a camel getting through the eye of a needle. And he does at the end say, but for God, all things are possible, because God can help us to move away from our riches and wealth into realizing that we're called not so much into stuff as in a relationship. And that's why, and I'm going to say this again, that's why I get so upset with the prosperity gospel people. I get upset by a lot of things, but I really get upset with the prosperity gospel because they're selling a false gospel. They're selling a false idol. It's almost like the golden calf of our day. Let's burn our crosses down and make a golden calf and tell everybody that, hey, it's okay to be greedy. I have a real problem with that. And I know I'm being sharp here, but no, it's not a sign of being blessed. Unless you take what you have and you give it to those who need it. That's where the blessing is. When you encounter the other and able to use your resources to lift up another, to show grace.
Yeah, and I think off of that, when you said let's did you say burn our crosses and make a calf?
I did, and I'm very sorry for those who'll be writing emails later.
So I'm going to play with that for a minute. So you said that, and I was like, yeah, but we're called to take up our cross and carry it, right? Yes. And that's not prosperity. That might be prosperous in a whole different way, but not in the way we define it in our culture, right? And so I have this song in my head right now, and it's literally called "I'm So Blessed." And I spent days, weeks, avoiding listening to this song because I have this thing about it's intentionally a Christian song, and I was like, that's not going to be for me because I'm just going to say, y'all listen to this. I'm going to offend you for a minute, and we can talk about it later. I have an issue with #blessed because I've seen it tied to like somebody's new Lexus and like getting the iPhone 14 because your iPhone 13 like just cooled down out of the box, right? Like, sorry, I'm naming it. And for those I offended, like my email's on the website. But like legitimately, I do struggle with that because I don't have an issue with things, but if we believe that we are blessed enough by God to have the things that others don't have access to, then I do have an issue with it. How are we using them? How are we tying that to what God has done to us? I do have a deep theological issue with. So I avoided this song because I was like, oh, it's going to be another like, I'm blessed because my life's perfect. And the song starts by saying, I'm blessed, I'm so blessed. And then the beat hits and it says, on my worst days, I'm a child of God. And on my best days, I'm a child of God. So I'm so blessed. And now it's a song I listen to often, but it's for me that just really puts it in perspective of like that's what blessing means. Is when I have what the world considers a little, I am blessed to be a child of God. blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek. Not you exist, yea, blessed are. That's what being blessed means. I could preach it, so I'm going to back up.
I already did, so.
Yeah, it's good. And so as I'm thinking about this, I'm just thinking about what are we talking about when we talk about prosperity? What does it mean to say a sign? And what does blessing mean, right? Those are sort of like, I'm just rethinking how we think of all those things. And I think what I came to, thank you for both of your perspectives on this too, as I was listening to you, was it can't be a blessing if it's not for everyone, right? Like
That.
And so as I think about blessing, I think the blessings that are for everyone are a prosperity, and they are a blessing too, right? I mean, if we think of prosperity as being something beyond maybe material wealth, the way we usually define that word, and we think about the prosperity in the everyday moments, the prosperity in, just, oh my gosh, I looked out the window super quick and there's this crazy rainbow out of nowhere, right? That I wasn't expecting. It was just a beautiful gift. Like that's a prosperity if you think about it. And that kind of prosperity that's for everyone all the time is a sign of God's blessing for all of us, all creatures in creation, all plants, animals, creatures, everyone. That kind of prosperity that is for everyone, I think, is God's blessing upon God's beloved creation.
And when you go through that, I think, if you're looking at prosperity of relationships, that's huge for me.
Sure.
I just, that's where I've received the most of my life is the encounters I've had with people, whether it's been a 5-minute encounter or a 20-year encounter. I've been blessed through those.
Maybe there's a work of reclaiming that.
I agree.
Word for what it is.
I like
agree.
that.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's one of those we talk about, and this is Eric Law, so I know who came up with this, is that we all enter the story of Christ at different points of the story depending on what is speaking to us. Sometimes we enter on Good Friday, sometimes we enter on Easter Sunday, right? And I think that this is a way of entering on Easter Sunday. And that's okay. We can do that. And we can claim that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And again, Eric Law.
Because we know what brought us to Easter Sunday.
Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. All right. Good one, Mel. Nice and short, but pretty rich. All right. You got another one for us? All right. Here we go. Splashdown. And here it comes. Oh, there. Oh, another big one, Mel.
This one's really
but
big.
it looks like there's
excited
words
about
on that one.
He's shaking with excitement.
I don't know if I
The
can
glasses
read that
came out,
much.
so that might be a thing.
This is a 5-liner.
All right.
In a church setting, do you think it's more important to have a unity based around the same ideas and theology, or a unity based around acceptance amid diversity of thought? What are potential positive and drawbacks with each approach? How might this apply beyond church to any organization?
Woo! A lot in there.
I'm going to accept it. I'm going to accept this question and go for it.
Challenge accepted.
People sitting at this table are like, oh, Jay has thoughts on this, doesn't he?
I think it's interesting. Again, I feel like
just a
these
second.
three topics really work with each other.
I know.
I mean, if people don't know, and I'm not giving any secrets away from Mel, but Mel has quite a collection of questions down in that well.
Yeah.
And to sometimes have the way these work together is pretty amazing. I didn't.
And to re-clarify, this is random. We've never seen these.
This is random. I'm guessing there's 100 down there.
Minimum.
So yeah, these 3 out of 100.
And I have my notepad out because Jay is a student. I want to make sure he doesn't do any major heresies.
I believe that it's more important to have unity around acceptance amid difference, and I'm going to put an asterisk on it though, because I live in the gray, and I believe diversity of thought is helpful. what I think we have lost in our culture is rules of engagement, agreed rules of engagement around diversity of thought. I will always be one to have acceptance amid difference if the difference that we have doesn't cause the harm to somebody for being who they are. And so that does, again, this is where we create gray, because that starts to sound like the first one a little bit. But I also think if there is open and meaningful conversation, I learn a lot when I don't sit at a table of people that think just like me. But I also believe that we have to come agreed upon scenario where when someone that looks differently, loves differently, expresses their love differently, comes to the table, that they're given the same voice and ears and dignity as well. And so, and many other things. I'm just saying those few. But so the potential drawbacks of where I lean is that it's in the gray. So the gray usually gets messy. And I've been saying this phrase a lot lately. This last week is you know what? It's messy, and God bless this mess. So I think the positives is that we know God is in that. If we're engaging with love and openness and acceptance, and so I'm probably answering right in the middle of the two, and I own that.
Sure.
I took enough time, so I'm not going to worry about the other one. But I think to any other organization, I'll just simply say I think it works in and out of the church.
Yeah. No, you did a good job with the positives and the drawbacks of each approach too. Because a lot of times with these questions, right, they want to try and pigeonhole you into one or the other. When actually, you really can't have one without the other,
right?
In a way.
Right.
And so, what this kind of reminds me of is the way we approach the philosophy of pub theology, which is we have a set of parameters that we read and agree to before we even start, right? Of that. Like you said, each person at this table has a voice and is welcome to use it. Each person at this table has ears and is encouraged to use those as well.
Yeah.
And we help each other stay to those agreements. Now, inside of those agreements, let's make this messy. Let's talk about this stuff. What does some of this stuff mean? I think it's really important to have that. We've talked about this term before, but that brave space to come together, even though we are different, and try and work towards reconciliation. Right? Not unificate, not sameness, but reconciliation. So we aren't the same. We'll never be the same. We have different experiences that have led us to the place in our life where we are. Those will never be the same, but we can be friends in and amongst those differences. And we learn a lot from each other when we are able to do that. And I think it's a little bit of the kingdom when we're able to do that as well.
So you're a little bit Lutheran with it, with a little both and.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You're right. A lot of gospel.
There are some areas where I put my foot down. Some beliefs or behaviors are not acceptable, in my opinion. Hate,
Right.
Hate speech, violence. That is pull off the side. We need to talk about this and figure out how to pull away from this behavior or this belief because it's unhealthy.
Right.
Beyond that, I got another area that I have to say that may be too Lutheran. When somebody starts saying, oh, you need to do this to merit God's love, you need to do that to merit, I'm going to kind of say, no, that's kind of where I draw the line. This is here I stand. It's grace. And that's it. Now, we need the difference of opinions. I think of our men's Bible study. Not everybody agrees with me. I think about our staff. Not everybody agrees with me. That's a good thing because I'm not always right. I know I'm not right. And so acceptance and differences, as long as the diversity of thought doesn't interfere the diversity of humanity. Does that make sense? You know, if your thought is that all these people are out and no good and we don't want them around, that needs to be adjusted and challenged. Otherwise, I think they have to go hand in hand, and that goes everywhere, in my opinion. Welcome all people, don't exclude anyone, and those who are in an unhealthy way, help them to see their difficulty. Does that make sense?
I think so. And I think this says like any organization, like I hope the restaurant I enter would welcome people the same way, right?
Right.
And then if you're being hateful, that the manager steps in and says, this is not good for the community that's gathered. Goodbye. Right? Like,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it has to, in some ways, it must apply to church first, and then can go to organizations. Or I should say, like, who's going to lead in this category or in this endeavor if it isn't the church, right?
Yeah. And if it's not happening in church, like,
Right.
right.
I'm exactly. All right. Excellent. Well, I think we've got some reward after our
Those were 3 great questions.
after our questions here.
Yeah.
What do we have, Jay?
So we're continuing with our holiday theme here, and I have a holiday dish from my family, and I know the particular family member that mainly makes these listens to the podcast, so I'm going to do a full disclosure. The particular form of almond I used is not according to the recipe. And that is a full disclosure because I live in Wisconsin and not Western Michigan. But so I got what
Reality.
I could. Yeah. So this is actually recipe that's at usually any family gathering around a form of a holiday. These are called almond bars, and it's also for a large portion of my family also is a tied to our Dutch heritage as well. So.
Nice.
I'm gonna pass them around and let you grab what kind you want because the corners are gonna be a little like drier and crunchier, and the centers are gonna be a little more like a not custard, but that style. Yeah. I have plenty on here for you, Doug.
Delicious. I love almond, so the smell was driving me crazy the whole time because it smells so good. I've never had anything like this, and I love it. Yeah.
I would battle for the end pieces.
So
Because I really like the crunchy end. The chewy center is okay, and I know that's partly because of your mistake, but still, it was good.
So, full disclosure, since this is a family recipe, you and my father would be fighting for the corners. 100%. That's the go-to spot. The edges are usually cut off before we start.
And I would honestly say that your father would beat me because I've met him. And for the edges, I would fight valiantly. I give it a 5.
5 for me too.
Oh, I'm on mute because I am eating and I love this and I love almond.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 4 just because when I mess with family recipes, it has to taste like how that family member makes it. So I'm giving it, but actually taste. I love these. This is one of my favorite things. Reminds me of home right away. So
Now, not to adjust one's family recipe. Remember, I gave it a 5, but what would make it a 6 was if a real almond was on top of each square. I would love that.
switch it up.
Just to have that. Even when you had the chewy, you'd have the crunchy of the almond. I would like that.
So I gave it a 4 and I grabbed a second one. So we have a God moment. I'm pretty sure that it's me that's sharing it. Right as I took a bite. Cool. So this is being recorded in the first week. Well, I guess technically the first day of the second week of November, and so when this is being recorded, I'm just getting back from the LCA Youth Leadership Summit, and the the weekend with the youth and the week of being able to be on the leadership team was just full of God moments. But a specific one for me was 4 of the youth team members chose to stand in front of their peers and share, basically give like a minor sermon, but based on a life experience. Not minor, but time-wise, smaller. And it ended up being major. And the theme for the week was, beloved, no matter what. Looking at Colossians 3:12, that you're chosen, not forsaken. And then you put on the clothing of humbleness and And I watched the high school youth go up there and share from their life experience and absolutely change their peers' lives by just sharing where God was walking alongside them, right where they were, and in like very serious moments, losing their father to a heart attack, and other things, and just watching them hold each other in that moment just made God real again and again and again in their lives and in my life. And I'm just obviously I'm super proud of them, but I'm also just super inspired by how they open themselves out to be used by God in that way. And it was such a holy moment. So yeah, cool. that was
Beautiful.
That was mine for sure. Yeah,
that is beautiful.
Well, thank you for journeying to the well with us. Have God's peace be with you always.
The Well is a podcast of St. Luke's ELCA in Middleton, Wisconsin. You can follow for new episodes airing every other Thursday on St. Luke's website or wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to drop a question in the Well, you can dive over to stlukes-elca.org/thewell to submit your questions there. The Well is sponsored by St. Luke's Foundation. The foundation is dedicated to leaving a legacy for future generations. You can learn more at stlukes-elca.org/foundation. Thanks for listening, and we'll meet you next time here at The Well.